Good morning, students. Today I am sharing the video in which you will learn about chapter 4 of history, that is tribals, Dikus, and the vision of a golden age. Watch the video and understand the topics properly. Students, note down the important points in your notebook. Let us see the topics which I will discuss with you. How did colonial rule affect tribal lives? What happened to tribal chiefs? What happened to the shifting cultivators? Forest laws and their impact, the problem with trade, the search for work, and last is Birsa Munda. Students, in previous video, we have discussed who are tribes. Tribes are the group of people that live in remote areas far away from the country, far away from the cities, remote areas, or in forests and jungles. They speak different languages and have their own culture. The tribals who lived in different places, living in different places, have different language, culture, traditions. Today I am going to discuss how did the colonial rule affect tribal lives. Students, the life of tribal groups changed changed during the British rule. They lost their freedom. What happened to the tribal chiefs? Before the arrival of British, in many areas, tribal chiefs were important people. Now, I am I am telling you how their life was changed during the British period. Tribal chiefs enjoyed a certain amount of economic power and had the right to administer and control their territories. In some places, they had their own police and decided on the local rules of land and forest management. Sometimes, if there was any dispute, so they give the judgment and solve the problems. Under the British rule, the functions and the powers of tribal chiefs changed considerably. They were allowed to keep their land titles over a cluster of villages and rent out lands, but they lost much of their administrative powers and were forced to follow the laws made by British officials in India. They also had to pay tribute revenue to the British and discipline the tribal groups on the behalf of the British. They lost their authority they had earlier enjoyed among their people. They were unable to fulfill their traditional functions. Student, in this way, the life of tribal chiefs changed. Now, what happened to the shifting cultivators during the British rule? Student, the British were uncomfortable with groups who moved about and did not have a fixed income. They wanted tribal groups to settle down and become peasants cultivator because it was difficult for them to collect the revenue, to collect the tax from the shifting cultivator because they changed their places frequently. So British wanted to collect regular revenue from them. So some peasants were declared landowners and other tenants. Tenants were to pay rent to the landowners who in turn paid revenue to the company. The British effort to settle Jhum cultivator was not very successful. Jhum cultivator who took to plow, cultivate, often suffered since their field did not produce yield. So the Jhum cultivator in northeast India insisted on continuing with their traditional practices. The quality of land was not good, so they did not become able to grow good crops, so they permitted for shifting cultivation, Jhum cultivation. Students, what was the impact of forest law? Forest law and their impact. These laws were made for the peoples who were living in the forest. So the British extended their control over all the forest and declared that forest was the state property. Now these are East India Company is the they are property of East India Company. So some forests were classified as reserve forest for they produced timber which the British wanted. In these forests, people were not allowed to move freely, practice Jhum cultivation, collect fruits, and hunt animals. Before the British rules, they were free to move here and there to collect wood, do hunting. But now they ask that these forests are the state property. You would not be allowed to go there to collect wood, to collect fruits, do the hunting. So many Jhum cultivators were forced to move other area in search of work and livelihood. So when British stopped the tribal groups from living inside forest, they faced a problem. From where would the forest department gets its labor to cut the trees for railway sleepers and had to transport logs Colonial officials came up with the solutions. They decided that they would give Jhum cultivators small patches of land in the forest and allow them to cultivate these on the condition that those who lived in the villages would have to provide labor to the forest department and look after the forest. So when they ask you would not allowed to live in the forest, so they face difficulty, so they allow them to live near the forest and provide labor to them. Students, now I am going to discuss the problem with trade during the British rules. Trades and money lenders wanted to buy forest produce, offering cash loans and asking them to work for wages. Before this, money lenders, traders would not go to the forest, but now this period they were allowed to go there, so they asked to the tribal people to take loan from them, buy the things from them. It took tribal groups to some time to understand the consequences of what was happening. In starting they become happy कि now they have other things which were they were not able to living in the forest areas. But when they fall into the debt trap and other problems, then they thought that they are coming not for the help of tribal peoples but coming only for their own benefit. Students, in the 18th and 19th century, Indian silk was in demand in European market. The fine quality of Indian silk was highly valued and exported from India increased rapidly. As the market expanded, East India Company officials tried to encourage the silk production to meet the growing demand. In Hazaribagh, present day it is known as Jharkhand, was an area where the Santals reared the cocoons from which the insect from which silk is made. The traders dealing in silk sent their agents who gave loan to the tribals people and collected the cocoons. They asked to the tribal to rear the cocoons and we would collect from them and give some money in advance. The growers were paid rupees 3 to 4 a thousand cocoons. They were exported to Gaya, Burdwan, where they sold at 5 rupees, at rupees 15 to 24 a per thousand cocoons. The silk grower earned very little. Who did hard work, they were earning very less. But middlemen who were doing nothing, just coming and giving the orders, some giving advance money to the tribals, earning more. Students, now the search for work, when they interfere their life of tribal people, then tribals going for search for work. The conditions of the tribal who had to go far away from their homes, from their forests, in search of work, in search of their work, was even worse. Their conditions were miserable. Tribals were recruited in large numbers to work the tea plantation at Assam, coal mines of Jharkhand. They were recruited through contractors who paid them miserably low wages and prevented them from returning home. Very little was given to them, and they were asked, now you would not go to their home place. Students, in the 19th and 20th century, tribal groups in different parts of the country rebelled against the changes in laws, restriction on their practices, the new taxes they had to pay, and exploitation by the traders and money lenders. Coles rebelled in 1831-32. Santhal rose in revolt in 1855. The movement that Birsa led was one such movement. The Munda tribal people revolted under the leadership of Birsa Munda. Tribal peoples main population was not happy. Even those who were living in the forest were not happy with the Britishers because they were exploited. They interfere in their personal life and ask you would not move here and there, and you had to pay taxes to them. So they started revolting against the Britishers. So who was Birsa Munda? Birsa Munda was the leader of Munda tribal. He was born in mid 1870. The son of a poor father, he grew up around the forests of Bowanda, grazing sheep, playing the flute, and dancing in the local akhada. As an adolescent, Birsa heard of tales of Munda uprising of the past and saw the Sirdars, leaders of the community, urging the people to revolt. They talked of a golden age when Mundas had been free of the oppression. Oppression means exploitation of Dikus, Britishers, and said there would be a time when the ancestral right of community would be, there would be a time when the ancestral right of the community would be restored. मुंडा ने ये सुना था एक टाइम ऐसा था जब वो फ्री थे, कोई उनकी लाइफ में इंटरफियर नहीं करता था, और ये टाइम दोबारा भी आ सकता है अगर वो एफर्ट्स करें. They saw themselves as the descendant of original settlers of the regions, fighting for their land, reminding people of the need to win back their kingdom. Birsa was deeply influenced by many of the ideas he came in touch with in his growing up years. His movement was aimed reforming the tribal society. He wanted to make Mundas free from the troubles, free from the Dikus, free from the Britishers. He urged the Mundas to give up drinking liquor, clean their villages, and stop believing in the witchcraft or sorcery, means jadoo tona, में विश्वास करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। अगर वो मेहनत करें, अच्छी लाइफ जिएं, अच्छे मूल्यों को जीवन में अपनाएं, तो दोबारा से वो समय उनकी लाइफ में आ सकता है जब वो फ्री थे, कोई उनकी लाइफ में इंटरफियर नहीं करता था। In 1895, Birsa urged his followers to recover their glorious past when Mundas lived a good life based on moral values. Birsa also wanted people to once again work on their land, settle down, and cultivate their field. As the movement spread, the British official decided to act. They arrested Birsa in 1895 and convicted him on the charges of rioting and jailed him for 2 years. When Birsa was released in 1897, he began touring the village to gather the support. He was arrested, but he decided when he would be free, again he collect the people and revolt against the Britishers and make their area free from the Britishers, free from their troubles. He used traditional symbols and languages to rouse people, urging them to destroy Ravana, the Kus, European, and establish a kingdom under his leadership. They attacked police stations and churches and raided the property of the money lenders and the zamindar. They raised a white flag as a symbol of Birsa Raj. In 1900, Birsa died because of cholera movement faded out. Student, however, the movement was significant in at least two ways. First, it forced the colonial government to introduce laws so that the land of tribal could not be easily taken over by the Dikus. This movement forced them to make the law that no one could take easily land from the tribal peoples. Secondly, it showed once again that tribal people had their capacity to protest against injustice and express their anger against the colonial rule. They did this in their own way, inventing their own rituals and symbols of struggles. In this way, this rebellion is important. Students, I hope all the topics are clear to you. Today, you will get the worksheet in which you get the questions which are based on the understanding of the topics. Do the assignment and send to us according to your given schedule. Students, stay at home, stay healthy, keep learning. Have a nice day.